Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games Discord, as we are playing live over the internet from the comfort of our homes safely, as Matt is playing Aluren versus Jovan on Death and Taxes. We've got a Ponder here from Matt, an Aether Vial for Jovan. A complicated matchup, one that we've seen a couple times on the channel, I believe. There are not a ton of ways for Death and Taxes to stop the combo in the main deck. Some cards that feel like they might have some utility don't end up doing very much. We've got a Force of Will stopping this first creature. Looks like perhaps a Stoneforge Mystic? Force pitching Force. Now a Brainstorm along with that Prismatic Vista. Such a good printing. My goodness, Prismatic Vista is just a fascinating fetch land. We have finally heard that enemy fetch lands will be reprinted in Modern Horizons 2. Mother of Runes coming in. That'll be next year, late next year. We'll do a video on the channel about those announcements. Maybe tomorrow, be able to get to that. We have been very, very busy trying to get the store up to snuff for premium. And perhaps a Thalia? A fetch here from Matt. Thalia, the namesake of the deck, making all non-creature spells cost one more. Sadly for Death and Taxes, Aluren only needs to resolve a single non-creature spell. So normally something like Tendrils of Agony, Thalia is going to tax an additional like 10 plus mana on the turn, and if it's going to be lethal, whereas here, I mean, they just need to get to 5 mana in order to cast their Aluren. And will we see... what will we see here? Oko's not really great into this board. Getting rid of the Aether Vial just leads to a dead Oko. I think you might actually just make a food if that's what you have. So we get Recruiter of the Guard grabbing a Gilded Goose, and he is going to ramp up to potentially drop an Aluren the next turn. Aether Vial activating. Putting in a 2-drop. We've got what I believe to be a Thalia turning sideways. I am not sure on this other 2-drop, though. There was no searching the library. Oko now coming down. And going to make that food a 3/3, which looks like it's going to trump all of the creatures currently on the battlefield. Aether Vials at 3, likely to stay there, and may end up going up to 4 for something like a Palace Jailer, though I'll tell you, Palace Jailer can be a bit of a liability. Another Mother of Runes. Getting poked by a Icefang Codal and needing to be in a situation to somehow get back the Monarch can really mess up Death and Taxes' game plan just in general. You really want to be able to be judicious with your attacks and, you know, throwing away card advantage to try and get the Monarch back when it's just going to go back to them in the air. I mean, it's a mess. Matt turning the beast sideways, or the elk sideways, I should say. And another recruiter of the guard. I did not catch what creature Matt grabbed there. I'm sure we'll find out soon. And, interesting. Actually, elking the goose is not what I would have imagined there. I would think a recruiter of the guard would be more expendable. Very interesting. Because the goose can actually just start spitting out food, allowing Oko to always have a 3/3. Let's see how this plays out. Two mana for Icefang Kotal. Gets to draw a card. It does have Death Touch. And these life totals are going to be relevant. We don't have them on camera. So I am kind of hoping that we see an Aluren kill. Nothing against Jovan, but it's going to be very difficult to actually get the life totals here. I'm going to get my little app out and see if I can keep up with this. At least for games 2 and 3. I am not going to lie, I would not be surprised if this game ends up in a concession at some point due to one side having just an overwhelming superior force. And that might just be a whole bunch of elk. Cataclysm would be spectacular here. That card just is brutal. A lot of the time just in Death and Tax's sideboard, but man, is that a hell of an answer to game states that have just gotten out of hand. The 4-mana sorcery just getting down to having one of each permanent type that was around back during Saga Block. Or Exodus, right? Yeah, it was actually right before. I think it was Exodus. I think it was before Saga Block. But yeah, they don't add new permanent types that often. Planeswalker still feels like a new addition to me, and to be honest, I think they're still figuring it out in a lot of ways. We've got Baron attempting to return a recruiter of the guard, and that gets hit with the Swords to Plowshares, confirming the theory that one of those creatures is Athalia. That's 2 mana was paid. Baron not going to be returning Recruiter of the Guard, meaning that Matt's not going to get a card draw end of turn. Really, the main upside of Baron is that card draw. The other card draw that can happen, as Matt pointed out the last time we were talking, is the days lists of Aluren can also return an island to hand, and you can get some extra value there out of your Baron. But you have to be dazing on your turn, I believe. So it's pretty narrow. I think Dreamstalker might actually be better in the list because it doesn't target. Dreamstalker will guarantee, as long as you have something to return, you're going to return a creature to your hand. Maybe it ends up being the Dreamstalker, but for the most part, there where there were 2 Recruiter of the Guards and some Icefang Kotals, Dreamstalker would have been able to get something back to hand. Euro, being cast, gaining 3, drawing a card. This is getting pretty grindy here. 4 Mother of Runes. I wonder if he has Plague Engineer main deck. He must not. Recruiter of the Guard has been used twice. I gotta feel like Plague Engineer would have been a thing to grab along the way. Another Euro. And now Gilded Goose making more food. And this is just chipping away now with these Ice Fang Codals. At some point, you got to imagine a Flicker Wisp can arrive. And at that point, this game will really be a slog, as those Mother of Runes can protect against Ice Fang Codal. Oko just pretty far gone. Can actually start making some swaps. Oh no, you can't because of I think it has to target. It definitely targets. So that's too bad. Mother of Runes preventing some of the shenanigans that otherwise would be pretty fun. And now a 2-mana Brainstorm. Matt has done a lot of digging. That is one thing Oko does not do. He does not dig at all. He's all about the here and now, whatever's on the board. Compared to something like a Dak Faden, which can help dig you out of this type of situation and eventually find your combo. Historically, combo decks have played cards like that. For example, Sneak and Show, I've actually sleeved up Jace the Mind Sculptor main deck in that before to great effect. Something that would occasionally come down like turn 2 in a control matchup and just completely blow them out of the water. Just create an overwhelming card advantage. Eventually either leading to you winning the game with your combo or just ultimating them out. Control decks can absolutely have a tough time getting back in once they're buried in card advantage. One of the problems with Companion, as I was explaining. Oh wow, here we go, finally. Something that can break this open. We've got a Umezawa's Jite on Thalia. And we're going to have First Strike. It's actually not even necessary to use Mother of Runes here, I think. If that is a Thalia, you can actually use the damage First Strike and then remove a counter to finish off the Elk. Now we got a Flicker Wisp. And, I mean, this is a complicated board state, but it is within the realm of possibilities here for Flicker Wisp to pick up. No, it is not. Never mind. Umezawa's Jite is just going to become an Elk. That's brutal. That is brutal. Just piecing this one together in real time. Have not tread this ground very often. Mostly play decks that don't care about Oko, to be honest. It's kind of a criteria for decks I'm interested in playing is not just getting crushed by Oko. Matt with all sorts of mana here. Finally, an Aluren shows up. And Euro comes down. Draws a card. Ice Fang Codal draws a card. 2 mana for a Ponder. Still doesn't have it. And shuffles. Just needs a Cavern Harpy here. Cavern Harpy or another Recruiter of the Guard. Oh, what madness is this? Wow. An untap step. We are over a half hour on this game. I am glad we were doing this double speed. Very glad indeed. Like, this is just brutal. Sword of Fire and Ice coming in off of Stoneforge Mystic. And are we going to have some protections? No. Going to allow the block. Food token being made. Aluren is down. There's still Euros to bring back from the graveyard, so some card drawing can be done. And now, finally, this should do it. Cavern Harpy to return Baron. Unless there's any type of response. Jovan thinking through his options. He's got a couple of Aether Vials. I mean, if he's got a trick, now's the time. So Cavern Harpy's being cast. It is returned to hand. And now there's a trigger to return a blue permanent. Euro's going to return. Now Cavern Harpy's being played. You put the trigger on the stack. And he's actually paying the one first to get the Cavern Harpy back in hand. This way kind of playing around any type of spot removal that Jovan might have. Each one of these is going to net 2 life and draw a card. So Matt is eventually going to also get land drops out of it as well. So he's going to be drawing cards, gaining life, making land drops, be able to get his Force of Wills in the game here. If there is some type of card to be cast, with it actually looks like there's no possibility of that. So, and at the end of this loop is going to be a Cauldron Familiar along with Cavern Harpy. Just going through the motions here, Jovan, checking to see if there's any point where he can actually interact, and I do not believe that there's going to be. And Matt has demonstrated the loop and made it clear that there's not going to be any type of window for any type of shenanigans. And that is game number 1. Coming up on 18 minutes worth of video here, which could mean they have about 14 minutes left in their match, roughly. Let's see how this plays out. Jovan's going to need to keep an aggressive hand and find a way to win game 3 if he wants the match. So Jovan going to need a fast hand in game 2 and 3 to have a chance. And Matt's deck also can be very fast. I mean, the fastest Death and Taxes draw is still not going to beat the fastest Aluren draw. So Jovan's going to need speed and that taxing element. Wasteland, Rashadan Ports, Thalia, potential Hate Bears out of the sideboard. No shortage of those for Death and Taxes. Aethersworn Canonist is a good one, preventing the casting of more than one non-artifact spell per turn. That is actually a big problem for Aluren. It's tough because one of the issues I see with Death and Taxes is a lot of the time newer players really like Mirren Crusader, throwing like Sword of War and Peace on there, trying to do like extra damage as fast as possible. And I'll tell you, when they tap off of like a Rashadan Port, And they've already got a clock to kind of get a faster clock. That's very often where the more explosive decks just kind of find a way to win. We've got a Thalia and a Stoneforge Mystic. And this is solid. This is solid. We got Umezawa's Jite being grabbed by Yovan. That's going to potentially be able to clear cards like Gilded Goose or just increase the amount of damage, giving +4/+4 per turn. Icefang Kotal. Often a speed bump, but not when you have First Strike. Oh, and actually just swordsing it. Yovan recognizing the urgency with the clock here. Oh, actually not. Oh, I think he went to Swords to Plowshares it and realized that he couldn't because he didn't have the mana. There we go. Thalia cuts both ways. Baron looking to get some card advantage here. Oh, actually not. Just bouncing the Thalia. All right. Icefang Kotal hanging back. Thought Baron might be bouncing the Icefang just to get an extra card draw out of it, trying to draw toward the combo. We've got a Wasteland taking down that Underground Sea. Thalia just coming back down. And Baron just looking to be a big body in the way here. I think he's a 2/4. Let's take a look. I think he's a 2/4, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was actually a 2/2. Yeah, no, he's actually a 2/2. He's tiny. He's not a big body. He is not going to stand up very well against Thalia. Yeah, Dreamstalker is a 1/5. Seems like his stock's going up. Icefang Kotal being flashed in. And a couple of counters on Umezawa's Jite means that Icefang is not long for this world. It also means comboing off is going to be a bit of an issue. Having counters on there means that the Cavern Harpy is going to have a tough time doing its job. Returning Icefang Kotals, and of course Baron returning Recruiter of the Guard gets a lot tougher. Though the deck is somewhat resilient against it. It doesn't just fold to it, but it does make things awkward. If you get to the point where you've got a Cauldron Familiar in play, you can potentially lose the Cauldron Familiar to the Jite, but you can get it back thanks to food. So we'll see how this plays out. None of this is a lock. So far, Yovan seems to be in the driver's seat here, game number 2. And I believe we're coming up pretty close to time. I'm not sure how many Allurans and Recruiter of the Guards this particular list that Matt has made is running. I'm a fan of 4 and 4. I think Aluren wants to be running 4 Aluren. You're running Brainstorm and Ponders. You can put them back if you need to. Versus other control strategies. It is a must counter. I mean, you can't just be letting Aluren resolve when you're playing against Aluren. So trading for a Force of Will, totally fine. If you have multiple copies. And I think we're actually in turns. I think that's what this numbered die represents. I think we're on turn 3 here. And it's a question of if Jovan is going to find a way to win this game in time. Thalia getting pumped, doing extra damage. Turn 4, will Jovan win on turn 5 of turns? We've got an Aluren here on turn 4. And a Euro. And a Cavern Harpy. On turn 4 of turns, it looks like Matt's going to seal this one up. Baron coming down. What is he going to bounce with it? I mean, he can bounce all of the permanents. And that is an argument right there for Baron in terms of the ability to bounce all of your opponent's permanents in the middle of the combo. That's not nothing. So Matt finding a way to win there right before time expires in a long but somewhat instructive match. I mean, there were a lot of decisions made there. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.